I trust you understand the situation. There is nowhere left to run.
The boy did not plan to find the van was supposed to stay buried. It sat where no vehicle should be, half swallowed by dry brush, sunburned metal peeling like dead skin. Wrong in a way that did not need explanation. The road behind him stretched empty in both directions. No headlights, lights, no engines, no life. Just heat rising in waves from cracked asphalt and the low whistle of wind dragging dust across rust. He should have kept walking. He did not. The boy slowed without realizing it. His shoes scraped gravel as his eyes locked onto the shape in the brush. A van, old, burned along one side like someone tried to erase it and failed. The silence around it felt thick, pressurized. Nothing moved, not even birds. He adjusted the strap of the small bag hanging off his shoulder. It was all he had. A shirt, a bottle with a few drops left, and things he did not let himself think about. His lip was split. Dried blood traced the edge of his jaw. Bruises bloomed under the dust on his skin. He had stopped counting the days since he left, or ran. It depended on how honest he wanted to be. People meant noise. Noise meant trouble. Trouble meant pain. He stayed away from all of it. That was the rule. The van broke that rule just by existing. He looked away first, forced his feet forward. One step, then another. Leave it. That was the smart move. The only move. The heat pressed harder as he walked. The air tasted like metal and sand. His throat burned with every breath. He focused on the rhythm of his steps. On the road ahead. Not the van. Never the van. A sound stopped him. Soft. Sharp. Metal touching metal. He froze. The wind picked up again, dragging a dry branch across stone. A hollow scrape echoed somewhere behind him. He waited. Nothing. Just silence again. Heavy. Watching. He exhaled slowly, but his body did not relax. He turned his head just enough to see it again. The van. Still there. Still wrong. Closer now, even though he had walked away. That was not possible. His jaw tightened. He scanned the ground this time. That was when he saw it. Tracks. Fresh. Not old dust patterns. Not faded impressions. Clear tire marks cutting through the dirt beside the van. Deep. Recent. Eyed the van. Deep. Recent. Sharp edges that had not yet been softened by wind. Someone had been here. Recently. Maybe still was. His stomach tightened. Instinct screamed at him to move. To disappear. To put distance between himself and anything that belonged to someone else. But the van, it did not feel owned. It felt hidden. There was a difference. His eyes moved to the windows. Covered. Not broken. Not open. Covered from the inside. Thick fabric. Dark. Pressed tight against the glass like it was meant to block light or keep something from being seen. The back doors caught his attention next. Chains. They hung loose, swaying slightly in the wind. Rusted but not old enough to fall apart. One link tapped softly against the metal door. That was the sound. That had to be the sound. Just the wind. Nothing more. He swallowed and turned away again. Walk. Just walk. He took 3 steps. 4. 5. The sound came again. Not wind this time. Quieter. Closer. A shift. Like something inside the van had moved. He stopped dead. Every muscle in his body locked. His breath slowed without his permission. His ears strained against the silence. Nothing followed. No second sound, no confirmation. Just that single movement. And then absence. His chest rose and fell harder now. He hated this feeling. The unknown. The not seeing. It reminded him too much of nights he did not want to remember. Of doors that opened without warning. He clenched his jaw. No. This was different. Here he had a choice. He could leave. Right now. No one would stop him. No one would chase him. He took a step forward. Then another. Then he stopped again. The van was behind him. But it did not feel behind him. It felt attached. Like a hook buried somewhere under his ribs, pulling him back without asking. He closed his eyes for a second. Just a second. When he opened them, he was already turning. The brush scratched against his legs as he stepped off the road. Dry branches snapped under his weight, loud in the quiet. Too loud. He paused, listening. Still nothing. He moved closer. Each step felt slower than the last. Careful, measured, like he was walking into something that had already decided he belonged there. The heat dropped slightly near the van, shadow pooling beneath its frame. The smell changed too. Rust, old oil, and something else. Something sour. He stopped a few feet away. Up close, the damage was worse. The side panel was blackened, paint blistered and cracked. The metal warped from heat. But the rest of it untouched. Too untouched. Like the fire had been controlled, directed, intentional. His eyes moved again to the windows. Still covered. No gaps, no movement behind them. The chains on the rear door hung heavier than they looked. One was looped through the handles, but not locked. Just twisted. Temporary. That meant access. That meant someone planned to come back. His pulse quickened. Leave. Now. Before whoever owns this returns. Before this becomes something else. He reached the edge of the van. Stopped. Listened. Nothing. His hand lifted slowly, hesitated in the air. Then touched the metal. Hot. Too hot. He pulled back instinctively, then forced himself to try again, gripping the edge of the rear door. The chain clinked softly as he shifted it aside. Every sound felt amplified. Every movement too loud. He paused again, waiting for a reaction. None came. The world stayed still. He pulled. The door did not open fully. Just a few inches. Enough. Darkness waited inside. Thick. Absolute. No light leaked out. No movement. Just black. He leaned slightly, trying to see. Nothing. Then a sound. Not metal. Not wind. A voice, weak, dry, barely there. Do not leave me. His hand froze on the door. The world outside the van disappeared. There was only that voice now. And whatever waited for him in the dark, the smell hit him first. Blood, rust, and something rotting slowly. It poured out of the darkness like heat from an oven. Thick, suffocating. It coated the back of his throat and stayed there. His instinct told him to shut the door, to walk away, to pretend he never heard that voice. He did not move. His fingers tightened on the edge of the metal door as his eyes adjusted to the dark inside. Shapes formed slowly. The outline of the van's interior, stripped, bare metal walls, no seats, no panels, just hollow space and shadows that clung to every corner. Then the chains, bolted into the floor, thick, industrial. Not something pulled from a garage, something designed to hold weight, to resist force. They stretched toward the center, toward her. She sat with her back against the sidewall, wrists bound above her waist, ankles locked apart. The chains held her in place like she was part of the van itself. Her head hung low at first. Then it lifted. Slowly, deliberately. Her eyes found his, sharp. Aware, alive. That was the worst part. She was not panicking. No wild movement, no desperate screaming, no begging. Just stillness and observation. Like she had already measured him and decided something he did not understand. The boy stayed where he was, half outside, half inside the van. The heat pressed harder in here, trapped and unmoving. Sweat gathered at the back of his neck. His voice came out rough. "What did they do to you?" She did not answer that. Instead, her lips moved slightly, cracked, dry, barely holding together. "You are late." The words landed without emotion. Not angry, not relieved, just stated. He frowned, confusion cutting through the tension. I just found, I know." She shifted slightly. The chains responded with a dull, heavy clink that echoed in the tight space. Her eyes did not leave his. "You do not belong here." Neither did she. That thought came uninvited. He stepped inside, one step, then another. Sure. The metal floor creaked under his weight. The sound felt too loud, like it might carry beyond the van. He glanced behind him. The road was still empty. No movement, no witnesses, just heat and silence. He turned back to her. Up close, the damage was clearer. Bruises layered over bruises, some fresh, some fading into sick shades of yellow and green. Dried blood traced along her arm where the metal had bitten into her skin. Her breathing was shallow, measured, controlled. She was conserving energy. That told him more than anything else. People like her did not waste strength unless they had to. He crouched near the chain at her wrist, reached out, hesitated. Trap. It could still be a trap. He had seen worse setups. People used bait. People used weakness. People lied. Always. His hand hovered. She noticed. A faint shift in her expression. Not quite a smile. "You think I am the problem." He did not answer. She tilted her head slightly, studying him from a new angle. "If this was a trap, you would already be dead." Silence filled the van again. He hated that she was right. He grabbed the chain. It was heavier than it looked. Cold despite the heat around them. Bolted tight into a steel plate welded to the floor. He pulled. Nothing. He tried again, harder. The chain did not even tremble. He moved to the lock near her wrist. Thick, industrial. No keyhole, he recognized. No weak point. This is not something you break," he muttered. "I know." Her voice stayed level. That bothered him more than if she had screamed. He looked at her again. "Who did this?" A pause. Not hesitation. Decision. Then she answered, "My family." That made him stop. "What?" Not directly. Her gaze shifted past him for a moment, toward the open door. Toward the empty road. A men who belonged to it. He straightened slightly, tension building again. "A what family?" Her eyes returned to his. Cold now, clear. Of the kind people do not walk away from. He waited. She let the silence stretch. Then, my father leads a chapter of the Hells Angels. The words landed heavy. Even out here alone, that name carried weight. Stories, violence, power, control. He had heard enough to know one thing. You did not get involved. You did not survive it. He took a step back without meaning to. Her eyes followed the movement. There it is, she said quietly. The smart reaction. He shook his head slightly, trying to process. Why would they do this to you? They did not. Another pause. Then, this is not kidnapping. Her voice dropped just enough to sharpen the words. This is a message. The air inside the van felt thinner now, harder to breathe. A message to who? He asked. Her jaw tightened for the first time. To him, her father. He looked at the chains again. The precision. The control. Not random. Not chaotic. Planned. They will come back, she said. No fear in it. Just certainty. His stomach tightened. A when? A son. That word echoed louder than anything else. He looked toward the road again. Still empty, still silent. How many? Enough. That was not helpful. He ran a hand through his hair, frustration breaking through his caution. I cannot get you out of this. I know. Then what do you want me to do? She held his gaze. For now, a small breath. A leave. The word sat between them. Heavy. Final. He did not move. Her eyes narrowed slightly. If you are here when they come, you die first. No hesitation. No doubt. Just truth, he believed her. That was the problem. He looked at the open door again. The road beyond it, freedom, distance, safety. Everything he had been chasing. It was right there. All he had to do was walk. His hand tightened around the strap of his bag, then loosened. He pulled it off his shoulder slowly and dropped it to the floor. Her eyes flicked to it, then back to him. A shift, small but real. He reached inside the bag and pulled out the bottle. Tilted it. A few drops moved inside. Not much. Not enough. He held it out to her. She looked at it. Then at him. No. Her voice was immediate. Flat. You need it. So do you. I will manage. You will not. The words came sharper than he expected. She studied him again. Longer this time, measuring something deeper. Then, slowly, she leaned forward just enough for the chain to tighten. Fine. He stepped closer and tilted the bottle carefully. A few drops touched her lips. She winced, then closed her eyes for a second as she swallowed. It was not enough, but it was something. When she opened her eyes again, they were different, not softer, but less distant. Why? She asked. He frowned. Why what? Why are you still here? He did not have an answer. Not one that made sense, so he did not give one. The silence returned, but it was not the same silence as before. Something had shifted. Small, fragile, real. Then a sound, low, distant, but unmistakable. Engines. Not one. Several. Growing louder, her eyes snapped toward the door. Her entire body stilled. Then she looked back at him. No hesitation now. They are coming back. The engines roared closer. The engines did not sound like vehicles. They sounded like war. The noise rolled across the empty land like thunder that refused to fade. Low at first, then rising. Layered. Controlled. Not random riders. A formation. The boy felt it in his chest before it reached his ears completely. A deep vibration that crawled through bone and settled somewhere behind his ribs. He turned toward the open door. Dust lifted in the distance. A line of movement cut across the horizon. Fast. Direct. Coming straight for them. Behind him, the girl did not move. She did not panic. She listened. Counted. Her lips barely parted. 2 minutes. The words were quiet, but they landed heavier than the engines. The boy looked back at her, disbelief flashing across his face. 2 minutes. She did not repeat herself. Her eyes stayed locked on the light outside, calculating. Always calculating. Always calculating. His pulse spiked. This was it. Decision time. Run or stay. There was no third option. He looked at the door again. The road beyond it. Open. Empty. Waiting. Freedom was still there. It had not moved. It had not closed. He could make. If he ran now, he would be gone before those bikes reached the van. He knew that. She knew that. That was why she had said it. If you run now, you still get a life. Her voice cut through the noise again. Calm. Controlled. Certain. He turned back slowly. She was watching him. Not pleading. Not begging. Just giving him the truth. That made it worse. His jaw tightened. A life. What did that even mean anymore? Walking roads that never ended. Sleeping where no one looked. Waking up to the same empty silence. Running from things that followed anyway. That was not a life. That was delay. The engines grew louder. Closer. Time was closing. He moved. Not toward the door, toward the chains. He grabbed one near the floor bolt and pulled with everything he had. The metal did not shift, not even a fraction. He gritted his teeth and tried again, muscles straining, hands slipping against rust. Nothing. This is useless, he muttered. I told you. Her voice stayed steady. That does not mean stop. He looked around the van quickly. There had to be something. Anything. His eyes caught a metal box shoved into the corner, half hidden under debris. He lunged for it and dragged it closer. It scraped loudly across the floor, too loud. Too late to care, he flipped it open. Tools, old, worn, but real. A wrench, a rusted hammer, a bent crowbar. Not much, but something. He grabbed the hammer first and swung it at the bolt, holding her chain. The impact rang through the van like a gunshot. The metal did not break. Again, he swung harder. Again, the bolt dented slightly this time. Progress, small, but real. The engines roared louder now, close enough to separate into individual machines, each one aggressive, each one controlled. A pack, not a crowd. They are not random, she said suddenly. He did not stop swinging. What? This is not chaos. This is structure. The hammer hit again. His grip slipped slightly. Pain shot through his palm where skin had already split. Blood smeared across the handle. He ignored it. What are you talking about? Internal war. Her voice cut clean through the noise. A fracture inside the club. The hammer struck again. A betrayal. Another hit. And I am the leverage. The words settled between each strike. Heavy, clear, final. He paused for half a second, breathing hard. Your father does not know where I am yet. That made him stop completely. What? They want him to find me like this. The chains clinked softly as she shifted. They want him angry. The engines were almost on top of them now. No more distance. No more time. The boy dropped the hammer and grabbed the crowbar, jammed it between the bolt and the metal plate. Pushed. Nothing. He adjusted the angle, pushed harder. The metal groaned this time. A small shift. His arms shook under the pressure. A move, he muttered through clenched teeth. The crowbar slipped suddenly. He lost balance and hit the floor hard. The impact knocked the air from his lungs. For a second, everything went quiet inside him. Then the sound came back all at once. Louder, closer, too close. He rolled onto his side and pushed himself up, gasping. His hands were worse now. Skin torn, blood mixing with rust and dirt. He looked at them for half a second, then ignored it. Again, he grabbed the crowbar. Again. He forced it into place. Again, he pushed. The bolt shifted slightly more this time. Not enough, never enough, never enough. You are wasting time, she said. He did not look at her. Then help me. Our voice hardened slightly. By telling you the truth, the engine stopped all at once. Like a switch had been flipped. Silence slammed into the space where the noise had been. Heavy, violent, final. The boy froze. Outside, gravel shifted under weight. Boots, multiple, measured, not rush. That was worse, much worse. They were not worried. They were not chasing. They knew exactly where to go. The girl's eyes moved to the door. They are here. A shadow passed across the opening. Then another. The light outside dimmed slightly as bodies blocked the sun. The boy's grip tightened on the crowbar. Useless, but he held it anyway. Footsteps approached the van. Slow, deliberate, each step echoing against the metal like a countdown that had already reached zero. The air inside the van grew tighter, harder to breathe. No more time, no more choices. The footsteps stopped right outside the door. A pause, long enough to feel intentional. The rear door was yanked open, hard. Metal slammed against metal. Light flooded the van, sharp and blinding. The boy squinted instinctively. A figure stood in the doorway, still, framed by dust and sunlight, watching them. Then the man smiled. The man at the door was not angry. That made him dangerous. He stood in the light like he belonged there. Clean boots. No rush in his breath. No tension in his shoulders. Just control. The kind of control that did not need to prove itself. Dust drifted around him, slow and lazy, like even the air respected his space. Eyes moved past the boy, locked onto the girl. A faint smile touched his face. Not warm, not kind, familiar. Oh well, he said softly. There you are. The girl did not respond. Her body stayed still, but her eyes sharpened. He stepped inside the van, calm, unhurried, every movement measured. His boots echoed against the metal floor, each step precise, intentional. The boy tightened his grip on the crowbar. The man noticed. Of course he did. His smile widened just slightly. You picked the wrong place to be brave. The words were not loud. They did not need to be. Two more men appeared behind him, shadows filling the doorway. Bigger, heavier. waiting for a signal. The boy swung, fast, desperate. The crowbar cut through the air toward the man's head. The man did not flinch. One of the men behind him stepped in faster than the boy expected. A hand caught his wrist mid-swing. Another slammed into his ribs. Hard. Air exploded out of his lungs. The crowbar fell from his grip, clattering uselessly to the floor. Before he could recover, his arms were forced behind his back. Pinned, locked, he struggled. Pointless. They were stronger, trained. Used to this, the man watched the entire thing with quiet interest. Then he looked back at the girl and spoke her name. Not loud, but clear. That was enough. The boy felt the shift instantly. This was not random. This was not a faceless enemy. This was someone she knew, someone close. Her jaw tightened. "That is a mistake," she said. Her voice had changed. Not fear, something colder. The man chuckled softly. "Everything about this is a mistake," he replied. "That is the point." He stepped closer to her, close enough to see every bruise, every mark, every sign of what had been done. He did not look away. He appreciated it. "You look exactly how I needed you to look." The boy's stomach turned. "A why?" He forced out. The man glanced at him briefly, like remembering he existed. Then back to her. "Because messages only matter when they hurt." A pause. Then, "Your father understands pain." Silence. Heavy. The truth settled in. The boy shook his head slightly. "Oh no, this is not... It is exactly what it looks like," the man cut in. He turned fully now, facing the boy. "For you, this is bad luck." A small tilt of his head. "For her, this is business." His expression shifted slightly. The smile faded. Something sharper replaced it. The words dropped like weight. "I built parts of what her father controls." The air tightened. The boy felt it. Even without understanding the full scope, he knew what that meant. This was not an attack from the outside. This was wrought from within. "I trusted man," the girl said quietly. Not a question, a statement. The man gave a slight nod. "A trusted," he repeated. "A respected." Then, irreplaceable. The word lingered. "Ugly. Final. This is not kidnapping," he continued. "This is correction." The chains rattled as he reached down and grabbed one near her wrist. He pulled. Hard. The bolt held. She did not cry out. That seemed to disappoint him. He straightened. "Bring her out." The men holding the boy tightened their grip. Another step forward and unlocked part of the chain mechanism near her ankles, not freeing her. Just enough. Enough to move her forward. They dragged her forward. The chains screamed against the metal floor, a harsh grinding sound that cut through everything else. The boy twisted against the grip, holding him. A stop. A fist drove into his side. Pain exploded again. He dropped to one knee, still held upright by force. Helpless, forced to watch. The girl was pulled out of the van. The light hit her hard, blinding after the darkness. Dust rose around her as her knees hit the ground outside. The chains followed, clanking and dragging, leaving lines in the dirt. The world outside felt bigger, hotter, more real, more dangerous. The boy was dragged after her and thrown to the ground. His vision blurred for a second, then cleared, and he saw them. Bikes. Dozens, parked in a loose perimeter, engines still ticking with heat, men standing beside them, watching. Silent, armed, waiting. The man stepped forward, placing himself between the boy and the girl like he owned the space between them. "This ends today," he said. Then a sound. Distant, but growing, different from before, deeper, heavier, more of it. The man's head tilted slightly. He heard it too. So did everyone else. Engines, not dozens. Hundreds. The ground began to tremble. Dust lifted in the distance again, but this time it did not drift. It surged, a wave rolling toward them. The men around the van shifted slightly, not fear, alertness, recognition. The girl's eyes lifted toward the ridge. For the first time, something changed. Not relief, expectation. The roar grew louder, closer, overwhelming. Then they appeared, a massive convoy cresting the ridge like a moving wall of steel and sound. Bikes stretched as far as the eye could follow. Row after row, perfect formation. Tight, disciplined, relentless. They did not scatter. They did not break. They advanced as one. 704. The number felt impossible. Yet there they were. The engines cut almost simultaneously as they surrounded the area. Silence followed, heavy. Absolute. The dust settled slowly around them, and then he stepped forward, the leader. The girl's father. He did not rush. He did not shout. He did not need to. Presence alone shifted everything. The air changed. The weight of the moment pressed down on every man standing there, even the traitor. For the first time, his smile faltered just slightly. The father's eyes moved across the scene. The van, the chains, his daughter, then the boy. They held there, longer than expected, longer than comfortable, measuring, judging, understanding. No words were spoken, none were needed. The father took one more step forward. That was enough. All at once, every biker behind him dropped to one knee. In perfect unison, no hesitation, no delay. A single unified motion. Dust rose again as hundreds of knees hit the ground. The sound echoed like a signal, like a vow. The boy's breath caught. He looked around, confusion breaking through the fear. This was not right. This was not how it was supposed to go. Not for him, not here, not now. Then he realized something worse. No one was looking at the father. Every eye was on him. Every biker remained kneeling. Not for their king, for the boy.